Got it. And then, hey. And then, yeah, enter here. Okay, this should work. Can you guys hear me? And how does it look? Am I all weird? Like, should I? Hey, Purple. All right, let me see. I should probably take down one of these. That. All right. So you guys can see me, you can hear me, and everything's cool? Turn my phone to how? Hey, what's... Oh, yeah, mine doesn't do that for some reason. It's fucked up, right? Check it out. Okay, so welcome. Sorry about the vertical video. I know they're evil. Welcome everyone to Wine and Reason, the Real Woman edition. And okay, this edition was sparked by... Okay, this is gonna drive me crazy. I've got myself junk shopping on my computer over here. I'm gonna close that. Hopefully that won't destroy everything. No, I'm not. I'm scared to close it. I'm afraid that will destroy everything we're doing. I'm just gonna turn it so I can't see it. Okay. So this was sparked by a recent debate on Modern Day Debates that's linked in the show notes, involving trans athletes, specifically women athletes who are trans. And a couple of assertions were made by Sargon that were absolutely horrible. And I felt the need to respond. And I've never done this before. I don't do response videos. It's not something I enjoy. But just, so I wrote it all down. Here it is. So for much of human history, and still in many places around the world today, women have been, for all intents and purposes, chattel, our fates inextricably linked to our biology. Now, when I say woman and women, I mean all women, as in every person in the world who has a woman's mind. I really couldn't care less what kind of equipment you were born with between your legs, and more importantly, that's none of my business, ever. Unless you choose to make it my business, it's not. Oh, I just invited dick pics, didn't I? Damn. Anyway, to spell it out, trans women are women, trans men are men. This concept is not difficult to grasp, or so I thought. Recently, on Modern Day Debates, Sargon made he made a lot of egregious assertions, but two assertions. Number one, trans women should not be allowed to play sports. And this is an assertion that has been thoroughly debunked by a lot of people, but by most notably the International Olympic Committee. Now, they do have rules surrounding trans athletes, specifically male to female trans athletes. They have to be on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and they have to have maintained certain levels of hormones for 12 months and a couple of other things. The link to a description, a link to a website that has all this information is also in the description. So there are things that they have to do to be eligible, but the International Olympic Committee has no problem with women who happen to be trans competing in their in the Olympics, in the freaking Olympics. Okay. And these rules have been in place for over 4 years. So anyone still questioning the right of trans women to play sports is sadly behind the times. Specifically, Sargon asserted that trans women should be banned from women's sports because they're not real women. And that horrendous phrase, real women, brings us, and also the debate is linked in the description as well. So you can, I had to watch it. You don't have to if you don't want to. It was rough. But it brings us to that phrase, real women, brings us to Sargon's second assertion. Number 2, infertile women are not real women either. This was fun. This was a fun bit to get to. So only women capable of bearing children are real women in Sargon's estimation, or they're, you know, somehow not less than. Yeah, I agree. Brainbug is Sargon is gross. Okay. Oh my godless life and this headache that I have right now. Must I really state in the year 2020 that what defines a woman is much more than her ability to breed? As Godless Granny put it in her recent video, also linked in the description, all women are women. Full stop. Emerging science tells us that people with female brains, as shown by MRIs, are women. Period. That's it. If you understand yourself to be a woman, you are a woman. There is no such thing as a real woman and not a real woman. That makes no sense. That is a misogynistic myth that hate mongers use to other people. I stand with all of my sisters on this issue. Women in this country will not go back to being second-class citizens. What we will do is lift up the voices of all women, and that includes trans women, and especially the voices of trans women of color. Furthermore, we will also lift up the voices of trans men because they are our brothers. We will continue to lift up the voices of non-binary people because they are our siblings. Feminism calls for equality of all genders, and science and history both teach us that gender is not a dichotomy. The human species is not simply male and female. We exist in a variety of genders and gender expressions. We stand together as one human race made up of unique individuals. Hateful tribalists who continue to hold to a false gender dichotomy can either do the hard work of educating themselves, or at the very least, they can get out of our way. I don't have any children, and I'm a woman. I wonder if men with low sperm motility are considered by some to be not real men. What about men who choose to have a vasectomy? If a man has a daughter who is a lesbian and she and her partner decide not to have children, is he supposed to see his daughter as somehow less than? Viable ovaries do not make a woman. Just as sperm motility does not make a man. Gender is not that simple. As people often overwhelmed by new information and a 24-hour news cycle, it's tempting to fall for false dichotomies. It's tempting to ignore nuance and make social issues as simple as possible. But that way lies tribalism, inaccuracy, and worst of all, hatred. False dichotomies inevitably lead to an us versus them mentality. And the fruits of that way of thinking is seen in the violent crimes perpetuated against trans women of color, just for one example. It's also seen in the suicide rates among queer youth in America. Ignorance and tribalism is at the heart of all human racism, prejudice, and bigotry. And I implore everyone listening to think critically about gender and gender roles in our society. I implore all of you to educate yourselves on all of the characteristics that make up gender. If you know a trans or non-binary person, ask them questions, reach out. So long as you're respectful and acting in good faith, you're fine. The trans or non-binary people in your life most likely want to stay in your life, and will probably answer any questions you have patiently. Now, however, having said that, I'm also going to say that it's not their job to educate you. If they don't want to talk about it, they don't have to. There are books, YouTubers, and even sociology of gender classes you can take to educate yourself. We don't need any more hatred in the world. We need understanding and compassion. We are social creatures, and we have empathy for a reason. Please use it. Use your empathy. I also want to mention that Brenton, the guy that was debating Sargon on Modern Day Debates, did a fantastic job. And if you do want to watch the debate, he does very well. There was one moment in the debate when Sargon talking about female athletes and having more muscle mass or something. I don't know, one of the many straw man bits that he had in there. He said, "It's not fair." And I thought to myself, you know what women have been screaming every day inside our heads, most of us, forever? Yeah, it's not fair. Who said life was supposed to be fucking fair? I mean, you know, yeah, it's ugh. And if I go through and read off my crazy person looking notes from the actual debate, it's going to be bad. So I'm gonna stop there with, some people still don't understand that there is a difference between sex and gender. Okay, sex, the bits you're born with or assigned at birth. That word assigned itself is problematic because you know, most of us know transgender people have always existed. There's a big light shining on this issue right now, but you know, just go look at third sex people in India. Look at Native American tribes who had two-souled people. This, any of that, like, this is not a new thing. Okay, human beings, like I said, we come in a variety of genders and a variety of gender expressions, and it's just not that simple. And that's okay. This is much more interesting. So thank you all for listening. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. Thank you all so much for coming back. I really, truly appreciate it. Shout out to Math Pig and Dave for trying to help me to sort it out. Bigger shout out to Junk Shop Library because they actually sorted the problem for me. And I will see you guys for more Wine and Reason next Tuesday. In the meantime, remember, you can't find truth in wine, but you can find it in reason. Thank you all so much.